I'm starting the screen sharing and then we'll start the class, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
So, till the previous class, everything is clear. Do you have any issues? Do you have any
No,
problems,
ma'am.
queries?
No, ma'am.
So, today we'll be discussing the defects in whole and skim milk powder, okay? So,
Yes, ma'am.
whatever defects we face in the final product, that is the whole and skim milk powder, that we will be discussing today, okay? So, basically, what reason defects? Now we know that the uh, quality of the processed product will never be better than the quality of the raw product. So, hence in this case, what happens is that if the quality of the milk used in preparation of whole milk powder or skim milk powder is poor, then obviously the product quality, the final product quality will also be poor. Hence, first reason is low quality of milk, and second is faulty manufacturing technique. So there is a protocol which we have to follow while making whole milk or skim milk powder, depending upon the technique we use. Now, if we do not follow those techniques step by step as per measurements provided, for example, temperature or contact time or size of particles or the atmosphere in which it has to be made, then what happens that because the procedure is not followed step to step, hence the manufacturing technique becomes faulty and the product we get has defects in it. Clear? The two why we get poor quality whole milk powder or skim milk powder. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then we come that what are the main defects we observe in case of in case of whole milk powder and skim milk powder. So basically there are three defects which we see. Okay, one is flavor, the other one is texture, and the third one is defects in color and appearance of the final product. So in case of flavor, the defects we observe are stale flavor, which means flavor. But when you taste the product, it tastes like it is old. It is stale. Okay. हिंदी में जैसे हम बासी कहते हैं.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, second is oxidized flavor.
Okay.
Okay. Then is rancid flavor. Rancid means what does it mean?
Means, but means like a burning flavor, ma'am.
Yes. Its acidity increases. Okay. Then comes burnt flavor. Burnt flavor means that the product feels as if it has burned. Okay. Then comes texture. Now, texture is of two types. Defects in textures are of two types. One is lumpiness and another is caking. So, in lumpiness, what we see is that the product is powder, but we find small lumps of the product within the whole final product. That is lumpiness. We have small packets or pockets of coagulated or sticky particles which form lumps. And another is cakiness. Cakiness, what happens to the whole product? It becomes a single cake material. It becomes a uh, what should I say? That the whole product as a whole has taken off moisture and it has settled down. That is cakiness. Okay, in lumpiness, you find some product as in powdered form and some lumps or some like moisture containing pockets, whereas in cakiness, the whole product is affected. Okay. Then comes color and appearance of the product. Now the defects
Okay,
observed
ma'am.
in appearance are brown color or dark color. Okay. So the product is comparatively darker than what it should be. Then comes burnt flavor. Okay. The product appears as burnt. Okay. And then is lack of uniformity in appearance. Like
Yes,
when
ma'am.
you see the product, you will see one part of it more darker than the other, or a part of it tastes different, or it appears different. Okay, so this is mostly due to improper handling. That this defect mostly rises due to improper handling or less uniformity during the production procedure. Okay, This slide is clear to you? Any point I have to repeat again? Sure. What happened?
Ma'am,
I'm starting the recording again.
okay, ma'am.
Okay. So the defects part is totally clear to you. No issues with that. Flavor, texture, and color.
No,
Flavor,
ma'am.
color, and appearance.
No, ma'am.
So we'll now take
No, ma'am.
aspect separate. Okay. So then first comes the flavor.
Okay, ma'am.
Now in flavor, what happens is the first effect we studied was stale or old. Okay. So why does these defects come? First is prolonged storage. If a product is kept for a long period of time, over and above its shelf life, then it starts showing certain defects in its flavor, which result in stale or old flavor, staleness. Okay. Now,
Okay,
another
ma'am.
excessively high preheating temperature. Now, when the preheating, like we preheat the milk and then we convert it into milk powder. Milk powder, skip milk powder. So when the preheated milk is of extremely high temperature, then what happens that the quality of the product produced is reduced. As a result, its shelf life also decreases and hence the stale order develops more quickly. Okay, then comes storage. Now the optimal temperature of storage of whole milk or skim milk powder is 24 degrees centigrade. Okay, when the almost room temperature. Now, when what happens that when we store the product at at higher temperatures, then its shelf life or longevity reduces and stale order
Mm.
increases. Okay, then comes delay from removal removal of the product from the drying chambers. Obviously, if we keep the product for longer periods in the drying chambers, then what happens? Drying chambers are at high temperatures. Okay, at what is the temperature of the drying chambers? Do you remember?
Mm. Ma'am, temperature varies, ma'am.
What? What?
Temp- okay, ma'am, please.
Around
Temperature of drying chamber.
165 degrees centigrade. Okay. So when we keep
To
it in the
what,
drying
ma'am?
chamber for longer time, what happens that its exposure to heat also increases. Okay. So what happens is that because of high temperatures, the product becomes more cooked and the flavor is destroyed. Okay. Then comes high
Mm.
moisture content during storage. Now we had read that because of lactose, it is hygroscopic in nature. So as soon as
Mm.
the relative humidity of the atmosphere in which it is kept rises above 50%, it starts absorbing moisture from the atmosphere. So if the moisture content
Mm.
of the storage environment is high, then also the flavor becomes a stale flavor develops in those powders. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
in
ma'am.
what we have to do, we have to keep product for short period of time at room temperature 24 degrees centigrade. The procedures followed in its production should be optimum. That is, the preheating temperature should be optimum, and the product should be kept should not be kept for longer periods in the drying chamber. Okay, we should remove the product from the drying chamber as soon as it is produced or as soon as we can go for it. Okay, and third is that we have
Okay,
to
ma'am.
maintain the moisture content of the product, which is obtained from proper packaging. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Any problem in this slide?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Then comes flavor. Now flavor, again, we have the second one, which is oxidized or tallowy. Okay. Is that there is a fattiness in its flavor. So why does it happen? Storage at higher temperatures. What happens when temperature it is stored at higher temperatures? I told you that the fat
Ma'am,
muscles
it causes.
inflate and the fat muscles become bigger. As a result, fat and the
Mm.
fluid separates and a layer of oil is formed. As a result, it becomes tallowy. Okay. Then what happens? Second reason is transparent packaging materials and the action of sunlight. So sunlight plays an important role in oxidizing the fats in whole milk powder and skim milk powder. So in order to avoid this oxidation, what we do, we pack them in opaque packets so that there is minimum, just a minute, there is someone. So that there is minimum exposure to, sunlight. Okay, clear?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Then comes metallic contamination. Now, we had studied in the previous lectures that copper and iron play a very important role in increasing the oxidation rates. They act as catalysts. So what happens is that when copper and iron content in the whole milk powder, skim milk powder is above the permissible limits, then they act as catalysts and the oxidation rate increases. Clear with that?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Next is excessive high preheating temperatures. Now, before we convert milk into whole milk powder or skim milk powder, what happens is that we heat the milk. So when the temperature of heat, when the temperature is too high, then what happens? That the fat gets separated. As a result, what happens that fat is more
Video only, no?
Can you-
Excuse me, madam. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Why this Nitish's video is not on?
So
Good
actually,
morning,
he's
sir.
having
Good morning.
connectivity issue. He did open it up first, so his connectivity
Sir,
broke
No,
off. So I asked him,
one student. No. He should continue. I think for one student, when it is 40 students, then it may be problem. For one student, should not be problem.
no, sir, he's having on his end. That's why. From not on my end, on his end, he's saying that connectivity नहीं है. Because बीच में सर अभी क्लास लेते लेते कट गया था.
Otherwise, video should be always on.
Yes, sir. So he does keep it on sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir.
So what happens is, where were we? Okay, excessive high preheating temperatures. Now, excessive high preheating temperatures, that when the temperature is too high, then the fat gets separated and it is more exposed to oxidation. Clear?
Yes, sir.
One is delay in cooling temperature and removal of product from drying chambers. So what happens is that when we keep the product at higher temperatures for longer time, obviously oxidation rate also increases, chances of oxidation also increases. Okay, so we should cool the product as soon as possible and remove it from the drying chamber. Clear?
Yes, sir.
And the last one is higher oxygen content in the headspace. What happens is that we had read that oxygen content in the headspace should not be more than 2%. But when the oxygen content in the headspace is more than 2%, then the fat is then the oxygen present in the headspace, it has more capacity of oxidizing the fats. Okay, as a result, oxidative tallowy flavor develops. So in order to control this, what we do, we either go for vacuum packaging or gas packaging, which has, which gas do we use?
Inert gases, ma'am.
Yes, like for example, which element? Nitrogen. Okay. And another way of controlling oxidized flavor is use of antioxidants. Clear? Any
Okay, ma'am.
confusion in this slide, please go to the points. Any confusion in this slide? Otherwise, I'll move to
No,
the
ma'am.
slide. Then comes the rancid flavor. Now, why does this rancid flavor come? Now you know that this rancid flavor occurs due to inactivation of lipase enzyme which is present in milk. What is the temperature of inactivation of lipase enzyme?
Hmm. Exact figure I don't know, but
बताइए.
it. Uh, एक minute, ma'am.
It is around 145 degree Fahrenheit, which comes approximately to 63 degree Celsius. So when
60 degree, ma'am.
63 degrees Celsius. Okay.
63 degree.
Okay. So what happens is that
इसमें pasteurization temperature ना ma'am.
huh?
This at the pasteurization temperature, it gets inactivated.
So what happens is that we have, when we preheat the milk, we take it into account that we'll inactivate the lipase enzyme. Okay. So when we do not
Okay.
reach the inactivation temperature, the lipase enzyme is active. As a result, rancid flavor develops. So the only way of overcoming this rancid flavor is by inactivation of the lipase enzyme, which is by proper preheating of milk before processing. So we should always take into mind that we should at least heat the milk to 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 62.5 to 63 degrees centigrade before we process it. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear? The whole concept, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now
Yes,
we'll go
ma'am.
to the next flavor defect, which is the burnt flavor. Now, why does this burnt flavor develop? Now, burnt flavor mostly develops in drum drying technique. Okay. So there are three reasons of development of burnt flavor. One is excessive high temperature of drying. So the temperature of the drum is too hot. Okay. Second is pits on the surface. So the drum surface is not smooth. There are pits. As a result, what happens? That the milk remains remains inside those pits for longer period of time, which burn. As a result, the whole product gets a burnt flavor. And the third is dull scraper knife. So if the scraper knife is not sharp enough, what happens? That the product is not removed properly from the drum surface.
Completely scrapped. Yes, ma'am.
Here, so what happens is
Yes, ma'am.
that the product is not properly removed, so the contact time increases. As a result, chances of burning of the product also increases. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any confusion in this slide?
No, ma'am.
So here we have
Ma'am,
to
here miss the burning. In the burning cases, ma'am, the Maillard reaction occurs, na, ma'am.
yes. So what you're talking
Okay.
about the Maillard reaction, we'll talk in the
Uh,
appearance because Maillard reaction gives a browning color. Okay, so that we'll discuss that
okay, ma'am.
in the appearance part because Maillard reaction will affect the appearance. Okay, clear?
Yeah,
Now,
ma'am.
based on these reasons, you will also know how to overcome or
Okay, ma'am.
prevent this
Yes, ma'am.
excessive high temperature of drying. So we will try to maintain the temperature of drying, which is 150 to 165 degrees centigrade. We will not cross that temperature limit. Pits on drum surface, we'll have a drum which has a smoother surface. Okay, and dull scraping knife, so we'll have a sharp scraping knife. What is the angle in which the knife is kept?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, what is the angle in which the scraper knife is kept?
Angle, ma'am. Around 30 degree, ma'am, शायद.
15 to?
Maybe.
Yes, almost. Okay, that's good. Then comes defects in body and texture. One defect is lumpiness, another is caking. So as I've told you, that in lumpiness, the whole product is powdered form, and then we will have pockets of moisture holding bundles of that product. Another is caking. The whole product has absorbed moisture and it has settled. Clear the difference between lumpiness and caking? Is it clear? The difference between lumpiness and caking?
Yes, ma'am.
So why
Yes, ma'am.
lumps are formed?
Yes, ma'am.
First is insufficient drying. So when the drying is not proper, the whole moisture does not come out. So there are places where moisture is held within that powder, and that moisture uh, holds up the whole milk particles and forms lumps. Okay. Then is absorption of moisture from the atmosphere. So as I have told you, because of the lactose content of the milk, it is hygroscopic in nature, and as soon as the relative humidity of the environment or of the atmosphere crosses 50%, it starts absorbing moisture. So due to that high moisture content in the atmosphere, lumps are formed. And the third is drippage from pressure spray nozzle. Now, when milk is sprayed in the drying chamber through a pressure sprayed nozzle, we take into mind that the milk particle should be from 50 to 150 microns. But if there is drippage, what happens is that particle which drips down into the drying chamber, that is larger than 150 microns. As a result, that particular particle is not totally dried, and there is moisture in the core of that particle. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
These particles can form lumps because moisture is still there. Clear?
Mm. Yes, ma'am.
So now, since you know how lumps are formed, it's also clear to you that how we will prevent it. Insufficient drying, so we will dry the product sufficiently. Absorption of moisture from the atmosphere, we will pack it in a
We
proper.
will
What?
avoiding moisture.
Yes. And the drippage from pressure spray, so we will fix the drippage, and mostly we use centrifugal technique, so that drippage is not there. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then comes caking. So caking is usually absorption of moisture from the atmosphere. You know the reason of caking? High relative humidity in the atmosphere. And the only way avoiding caking is proper packaging of the product. Okay? In an
Yes, ma'am.
airtight
Yes, ma'am.
method. Clear? Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Here we'll talk about the Maillard reaction. So one is browning or darkening of the product. Here Maillard reaction plays a very important role. Okay. Second is scorched or burnt product. The product burns and the color and appearance of the product changes. And the third is lack in uniformity in the appearance of the product. Clear? These three are the defects which color and appearance. So first comes brown and dark color. Now what are the causes? Long storage temperature. So as usual, when the product is stored at higher temperatures for long period of time, what happens is that the protein and carbohydrates, they react with each other by the Maillard's reaction, and browning happens. Okay. As a result, the product becomes darker. Okay. So this is the basic reason why browning and darkening occur. Now it is due to longer storage, higher storage temperatures, then delayed in cooling and delayed removal of the product from the drying chambers. Temperature is high, so the rate of Maillard reaction is also high. Okay, and high moisture. Okay, are you there, Nitish? Nitish, are you there? Can you hear me? Are you there, Nitish?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Till what point were you able to listen to me? Because the connection broke down. Nitish, can you hear me? Hello? Nitish, can you hear me?
Okay, ma'am.
So I'll start the screen sharing again to where we had paused. So browning and dark color, this was the point, right?
Okay.
Okay. So browning and dark color, as I told you, it's totally based on, it totally happens due to the Maillard reaction. So we had discussed the defects, that what were the defects, so how we can prevent it. That is by proper storage of the product at 24 degrees centigrade, okay? Prompt cooling of the product and removal from the drying temperature, drying chamber, sorry, and optimum moisture content, okay? The moisture content should not be too high, otherwise browning and darkening will increase. Clear?
Sir.
Okay. Then comes what happened? Sorry, this is not brown and dark color, rather it is the burnt. I have written it wrong here. It should be, just a minute, let me,
But appearance.
yes, burnt appearance. Okay. I'll just
Okay.
burnt. Burnt or scorched.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. That's a mistake on my end. So the burnt or scotch flavor, why does it happen? As the previous one, which is where we discuss the flavor, the very key reasons were also excessive high temperature of drying, fits in the drum surface, and dull scraper knife. Okay, it's the same. So if the burnt color appears, obviously the burnt flavor will also be there, and the reasons are the same. I don't think so. I need to repeat it again. The reasons and the precautions, they are the same as the burnt flavor. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Then comes lack in the uniformity in appearance of the product. Now, why is a lack of uniformity in the appearance of the product? When we do not follow the protocol step by step, or there is, or we are lacking somewhere in the storage technique. There are the two parts. So now what happens is, for instance, you are buying a product and a part of the product burns down. So what happens, the product produced is not of uniform color. You would find some particles which are darker in color compared to some other particles. Okay, so light colored particles and dark
Okay.
particles both are present. Some will be light, some will be brown, and some will be burnt. So there is lack of uniformity in the appearance. Okay. Second is partial
Okay.
discoloration. So this is basically a packaging and storage issue. Now we had discussed earlier that we mostly package whole milk powder and skim milk powder in opaque packets because sunlight oxidizes those powders. Now, for instance, you think about that the product packaging is not proper. There is a small part where the package is not opaque. So what happens? That particular portion is available to light and then oxidation happens. As a result, there is a partial discoloration of the product and it appears differently from rest of the product. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Another thing is that product is stored in such a way that, for example, say it is in a cardboard box and that cardboard box is exposed to heat or sunlight. Okay, so what happens that the temperature of the product exceeds 24 degrees centigrade, the normal room temperature. So the product which
Yes,
is
ma'am.
touching the surface of the cardboard box, that starts to develop defects. But those within the center of the cardboard box, they don't, they will develop those defects, but in a delayed manner or in a delayed tense. Okay, so what happens is that one product has some other appearance and the outlining product has a darker or deeper appearance. So the appearance changes. Clear that why there is lack of uniform
Yes, ma'am.
appearance? Okay. So this was the class for today. Any confusion in these?
Okay, ma'am. No, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly share this PPT, ma'am.
I will do that. Okay.
Yes,
So I
yes,
will
ma'am.
just WhatsApp you this PPT. I'll
Okay, ma'am.